I would like to share with you all one of the most creepiest childhood experiences I had whilst at primary school. I think I must have been around 8 or 9 at the time, and I distinctly remember it being summertime. My primary school had a main big building and a mobile classroom attached onto the back end of the building, and it was at that time that the mobile classroom was my classroom, and I spent most of the 6-hour school day in there. The back end of the school consisted of a large field and a small wooden ramshackle fence that separated the school's land from the farmer's land, which was technically adjacent. The farmer's land led downhill and into a valley, and also has a small river and a wooded area. Now, back to my classroom. Structurally, it was supported by not so big concrete blocks placed underneath the 4 corners of the classroom, combined with some sturdy metal from what I can recall. However, the way it was supported meant that there was a large crawl space and was big enough for an adult to crawl into and still have enough space to turn around, etc. The crawl space was covered with a thin chicken wire to stop children going into there. So, back to the story. As I said, it was summertime and it was the end of the school day. I was cartwheeling on the field because I had just learned to master them. Lots of other children was messing around on the field too, because it was such a hot day and spirits were high. As I was cartwheeling past my classroom, something caught my eye. The chicken wire covering the crawl space had been cut somehow, so I decided, and at a distance because the crawl space creeped me out, to peer underneath. And I shit you not, staring back at me was a man. He had dark hair and a brush-like moustache, but that's not all. He was laying on his stomach, atop a single mattress, holding to his chest a grey bunny rabbit teddy bear. I will never forget the second our eyes locked. I felt something that I can now as an adult describe as predatory. I ran away as fast as my legs could carry me, to alert the teachers, and all I remember next is chaos, pandemonium, and being ushered with everybody off the school grounds as the police were arriving any moment. We could hear the sirens. I don't recall hearing much about the guy who had been caught hiding underneath the classroom, except that he had been arrested. After this incident, the school tightened its security, and the school caretaker was always patrolling the school grounds. We were also educated frequently on stranger danger, as this incident had certainly shaken the schools, pupils, and the parents up majorly. Especially me. So creepy guy with the teddy bear, lurking in the crawl space. Let's not meet again. Number 2. This happened about 9 or 10 years ago, but I will never forget it. At the time, I was about 11 or 12 years old, female. I was a competitive softball player, and my team was nationally ranked, so we travelled all over the United States to play. This resulted in long car rides, sometimes through the night. One night in particular, it was about midnight and we were on our way to a tournament in who knows where. I had been sleeping in the car when we stopped at a gas station for a bathroom break. My teammate, who was also around 9 or 10, and I decided to stay in the car while our mums went inside because we really didn't have to go. A few moments after the mums had left, locking us in the car, I noticed another car in the parking lot. It was a few spaces over and was the only other car at the station at the time. I noticed a middle-aged man and a little girl who was about 6 to 8 years old, who I assume was his daughter because she looked strikingly similar to him in this car. I met eyes with the daughter and she smiled at me. I smiled back and waved because she was adorable. The little girl then said something to the man, and he looked at me and smiled too. I went back to minding my own business as the man went into the store and left his daughter in the car. When I looked back at the little girl, she was looking at me with a scared look on her face. She started hitting the windows and motioning for me to come over to the car. Instantly, my adrenaline went into overdrive. This girl was really acting like she needed my help. My mind was racing. What if this man had kidnapped her and she needed my help? My initial thought was that he was the father, But you never know. I just had no idea what to do. I turned to my friend, who had gone back to sleep, and tried to wake her up, but she just shot me a dirty look and went back to sleep. Turning back to the girl, I was about to get out the car and talk to her, when I saw she'd made eye contact with the man in the store, who was just standing there watching through the window. He smiled at her and nodded, seemingly approvingly. She smiled back, and then turned to me and instantly went back to trying to get me to come over to the car. After seeing that exchange, I thought something was off. It seemed like the girl was acting at the direction of the man. I then decided I was not getting out of the car and would just tell my mum about it when she got back, because hey, I was aware that I was a little girl myself, and what the heck could I do? Next thing I know, the man is returning to the car. He hadn't bought anything, and had basically been standing in the window watching the whole time. When he got in the car, they started having a conversation, occasionally glancing at me. Eventually, the little girl shrugged, and he kind of patted her on the shoulder. They started to pull out of the parking lot, and I glanced at the girl one last time, and saw she was looking right at me, with this huge smile. I was so creeped out, but didn't tell my mum when she returned to the car, because I was so still confused and shocked about what had just happened. For a little bit, I didn't tell anyone because I felt bad that I hadn't done anything, when that girl could have actually been in trouble. But thinking back after I had gotten over the initial shock, I concluded that the man was using his daughter to try and lure me to the car by making me believe she was in some type of trouble. Who knows what would have happened next, but my guess is he would have run out from his watching spot and put me in the car and drove off with me. The creepiest thing is, it seemed so orchestrated. I was sure this was not the first time they had done this, so... creepy man, and his equally creepy, but super talented daughter. I'm glad we didn't meet, and let's not plan on ever doing so. Number 3. I live in the sketchy area of the nice part of the city, so while it's not terrible, there are some weirdos around. I've personally never had a problem, but I've had female friends have several close calls. The direct neighbourhood I live in is the dog area, so there is always dog people walking, and I definitely feel safe with my big ass pit bull. The dog park is a fenced in area with a larger park right next to the lake. It's weird, we live in a huge city, but that park gets pitch black at night. There are trees and sheds and other obstacles inside the actual dog park. One night, around midnight, I decided to take my dog to the park as usual. My boyfriend was working the closing shift at his restaurant, and the bus stop was on the way of the park, so he decided to meet me there on his way home. As I am walking towards the dog park, I thought I saw the outline of a person inside. I actually could have sworn I did, because I am on constant vigilance for dog presence with a dog-reactive dog. I assumed someone with their dog was inside, so I walked around the park while keeping my eye on the dog park, waiting for them to leave. No one ever came out, and when I eventually approached the fence, I did not see anyone or their dog inside. So we enter and play as usual. Anyway, my dog and I are playing fetch, and he is running around doing his thing. I am standing next to the double-fenced entrance, reading the bulletin board. Randomly my dog stops playing and runs up next to me. He sits quietly at my feet and is staring into the dog park. I didn't notice anything amiss. I thought it was kinda weird, but my dog is weird in general, so I didn't think much of it. After a couple of minutes, my dog goes back to playing and my boyfriend comes up. He had apparently been trying to call me, but my phone was on silent. Apparently, there was a guy, dressed completely in black, with his hood up, standing on the other side of the fence, staring at me. I had no idea he was there. My boyfriend was walking down the street towards the park, and saw all of this. My dog then came up and sat, but actually sat watching the wrong direction, and wasn't even looking at the guy. My boyfriend then said the guy stared for another 30 seconds or so, and then took off sprinting across the park. What is extra creepy was there was a police patrol car sitting a couple blocks down. I think it's unsettling, I had no idea the guy was like 3 feet from me. Did my dog's presence deter him? Did I interrupt a drug pickup? Looking to mug someone in a dark area? Was something else inside the park the entire time, and that is what my dog was actually staring at? Did he sense something was up? I don't know. We got the fuck out of there immediately after. So, unknown person, doing unknown things. Let's not meet.